It's another week of Soccer's Morning Show. Soccer down here. John here, you there. And we got stuff to talk about. It's what happens when you don't have a weekend show. And this morning, I guess, I'm just going to go ahead and lay it all out there. Morning, Abby. I know that you guys have stuff you want to get off your chest. Probably been sitting on it through social media all weekend. Cursing at the sky. Cursing at a television near you. Bunch of different things. And we will be getting into Leagues Cup. Morning, Alex. And so the rundown this morning, pretty simple. We're going to be talking about the U.S. Women's National Team, what you guys think. And once again, get it off your chest. Just get it off your chest. We'll move forward. Had a couple of great moments this morning to talk about. And we'll get into Women's World Cup. We'll get into Leagues Cup this morning because last night, and Tafka, to a certain extent, is correct. Anyone not on board for Leagues Cup needs to have their vitals checked. Last night was ridiculous. The one match played in mid-90s heat when they arrived at the stadium in Frisco, Texas. It was in the early hundreds. Started out, you show up, you're 103, you're tailgating under trees. They had ticketing issues. I know that's a surprise. Packed house in Frisco, Texas to see Inter Messi CF take on FC Dallas. I think we saw a couple of things when it comes to Inter Messi that we knew that was just reinforced last night. Alan Velasquez had a hell of a match. Morning, D. Graham. And we'll go over it because it was absolute drunken insanity last night. Inter Messi had a lead. FC Dallas took it back. The back and forth continued to where it was, okay, FC Dallas, we think they've got it figured out. Own goal had a brace last night of the first 7 goals. I say 7 because they weren't done at that point. 4-4 after 90 minutes, goes straight to penalties. And Inter Messi advances in a match, frankly, that FC Dallas should have won. But once again, we saw things about Inter Messi CF that we knew that were reinforced last night. But just the craziness, insanity, madness, holy crapness that was attached to it. Once again, Leagues Cup showing how absolutely crazy it was. So we'll talk Leagues Cup. There's news of the AM, especially involving one USWNT keeper who is apparently on the move. We'll get into that. We'll get into whatever else is on your mind. Lower divisions in England started. I know Jessica Charman has been keeping an eye on that. So getting us ready for the upcoming weekend, starting with Friday Night Football and the return of the Prem, as Jason calls it. So that obviously means that next week will be the return of Prem and Proper. We've got championships here in the States that happened over the weekend. Remember last week we talked about USL League 2. That title game was decided in Ballard at Starfire Complex. Ballard FC and our friends from Lionsbridge. Ballard scores at the death. Fantastic crowd at Starfire, by the way, for Ballard and Lionsbridge. And then in the NPSL, and we'll get Jarrett to talk about this. Our friends at Apotheos took it into a shootout before losing to Tulsa Athletic. So Tulsa Athletic, who had, if you remember the conversation that we had from Sonny D'Alessandro, one of their owners, going to have one of the shortest victory parades ever. I think it was like 300 feet or something like that. So we got champs in lower divisions, and obviously, as the week goes, you'll have the programming independent of the morning show. Get you through all your championships, your USL League One, your USL Championship, your MLS Next Pro. A bit of traffic on the week. Remember, Wednesday night is the Twos and Crown Legacy at 7:30, 7:15 pregame here on the network. And when we find out what the location is, obviously we'll let you know. And interesting piece of coolness, obviously, as we're waiting for Bart Keeler to come back into circulation, Luke Winslow to come back into circulation. We'll continue to have them as guests, but that whole traveling thing where you lose like 2 days coming back. Bart, I think, was in Fiji last time we saw him on social media. And then we'll catch up with Bart. I think Bart is in Los Angeles tomorrow morning. So we'll see if we can coordinate it with Bart, maybe to come on late, depending on when the plane gets in. Or we might end up doing a 1v1 and just something independent. Or we may wait until Bart has completely recovered and he comes home and he ends up batting leadoff one of the days later in this week. But planned on Wednesday. This is very, very cool. We're going to catch up with the technical director of the Marshall Islands. Marshall Islands is they are right now, they are the last country in the world without, is that a double negative? Last country on this planet without a national football team. But Lloyd Hours, a friend of the network, spent 9 days over in the Marshall Islands, and he has started things on the grassroots level there. And it's very, very cool. So we'll get Lloyd, and I think we're going to catch him from the Honolulu airport to wrap up the show on Wednesday. And we'll have our regular cast of fanatics and crazies coming into the week. But Lloyd Hours, I think we're going to be able to catch up with Lloyd and find out what's going on at the Marshall Islands at 10:30 or so on Wednesday morning when he's landed at the Honolulu airport. And so now we bring in Jared Smith. And Jarrett is not a fan of PKs. Well, let me rephrase. Jarrett is not a fan of PKs from this past weekend.
No, I don't like them in general.
Oh, you don't like them? Okay, so you don't like them in general. Okay.
No, I don't, because it's you get situations like I'm going to be salty for a minute because I know everybody's upset about subs from the USA Sweden game, but
right.
You get into this mode where you're like, we're just going to be defensive and get the penalties, and then we feel better about a coin flip than we do about bringing a knife to a knife fight where someone has a bigger knife.
Yes.
They're just they're a frustrating way to determine games. I fully endorse the 35-yard run-up PK. If we would like to settle things with quote-unquote spot kicks, 35-yard run-up, do those instead. They would actually fit Leagues Cup stupidity wonderfully.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I don't like spot kicks. They're annoying. They're just and also for the sake of maximum chaos, all of the penalty kick opportunities that took place in the last week have gone against me, going back to Atlanta Cruz Azul.
They don't like you, Jarrett.
The only one that went the way I wanted it to was Columbus losing. And it's nothing personal against Columbus in that game. It just seemed like the highest chaos option because Columbus was a lot of people's pick to win the thing. And I was at one point thinking, what would be a fun final in the Leagues Cup?
What would be a fun final in Leagues Cup?
Cruz Azul and DC, both of them lost in penalties. Because when they were both at that point, I was Cruz Azul, who wasn't good against Atlanta, they weren't. You can point to whatever you want. They scored a goal because Ronald Hernandez went out of pocket and lost his mind and made a bad decision. They weren't great, but it's like at that point, if you're already there, go ahead and beat Charlotte. They couldn't. Then go ahead and DC. Go ahead and just kind of like stumble through this thing because a couple of years, I think it was 17 or 16, that DC, or no, it was Houston, made a run in the Open Cup while being like fighting for the wooden spoon.
Yeah.
Do that thing because that's funnier to me. But none of the penalties that I watched went the way I wanted them to, and it's exhausting and it's annoying because a lot of times it's just you're flipping a coin, and then
Yeah.
but then you also get really stupid stuff like uh, Nair standing on her head, making some amazing
Yes.
saves, and one of the most amazing almost saves we've ever seen. And then you get a veteran who has seen stressful situations worse than that in her entire career,
Mhm.
hit a ball that the only reason either Smith or Rapinoe's balls will ever land is because Paxton Pomykal knocked them out of their decaying orbit last night.
So it's
That is
like
the only reason
like
they're going to collide.
like marbles, where Paxton Pomykal, since he hit his last, has the chance to either hit Sophia Smith's or Megan Rapinoe's and knock it out of orbit.
Mm-hmm.
Paxton Pomakal's Aggie ended up breaking a display in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, he probably did. He knocked over a picture of Lamar Hunt probably in the process.
Yes.
But yeah, I hate penalties. Not even just for like the U.S. sake. I just don't like them in general because they're stressful and annoying. Yeah, it is what it is. We're done.
Yeah.
It's done. I'm sure there will be a week of everybody wanting to detox off of the women's national team, and then even longer to detox off of it. Yeah, you cross that bridge when you get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bam.
everything sucked this week. And for the record, I'm happy for Bam in Australia. I'm glad they won this morning. That was a good thing to happen.
Yeah.
Um, God, I had a miserable weekend with this stupid sport again.
Yeah. Bam running smack because, you keep winning, you can do that. He says, Bam is going, what is good, everyone? Australia plays the winner of France and Morocco in the final 8. Remind me, who does USA play? Yeah. I mean, but you can do that. Winners can run smack. You
When
can
you
do that.
win, you talk smack. That's how it works. That's okay.
Yeah.
Because not only that, Australia has been doing this without Kerr.
Mm-hmm.
Kerr played the last 10 minutes today, give or take.
Yeah.
They've been doing this without her.
Yeah, they have.
They got some cojones.
Mm-hmm.
They're
That is true.
playing with confidence. It's really fun to see.
Yeah.
I was heartbroken for again, penalties suck. I was heartbroken for Nigeria.
And that's
I
open
really,
kickoff coming up in a bit, but yeah.
man, I really wanted to see England lose on the back of the U.S. losing. That'd have been hilarious.
Yeah. And I mean, I am one morning Tom. I am one that will perpetually root for the underdog. I'm like the St. Jude of sports. Give me give me your tired, your poor, your coleslaw, and I will root for the underdogs. I will root for Morocco all day long, just because I want to see what's going on. I want the world to continue to compress upon itself when it comes to the margins and women's soccer. I loved what I got to see out of Nigeria. Disappointing that they got bumped out of the knockouts. But I will root for Jamaica all day long. I will root for Morocco all day long. I will root for South Africa all day long. That is how I'm wired. Now that we're in the knockouts, give me chaos. Same with the Leagues Cup. Give me chaos. Absolutely. But opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. And I forgot to grab the billboard after I stashed it this weekend. So maybe while I'm doing the opening kickoff, I can find the eliminized billboard for the halftime. It's something that bugs me. And everybody knows that, I've been in television for, a couple of years. And that's what happens when you host a party on the weekend. You have to kind of stash things. But I've been in TV a couple of years. And one of the things that has increasingly bugged the ever-loving ish out of me over time is how television productions handle themselves after the definitive moment in a game or a match or an event. How they handle themselves when something is over. Traditionally, yes. You have to fill time in a visual medium before you're getting to the next element of your rundown, whether it's tossing back to the studio, whether it's tossing to a sideline reporter, waiting for an interview to happen, those kinds of things. But the England-Nigeria match, once again, reminded us that I think we still lack a lot of compassion when it comes to television production. And what I mean is this. I can count on too many hands and too many toes when we've seen cameras linger on the losing side of an event.
I mean, we do that. Like we go for the.
But there are go for
especially
it.
Yeah. Find me a director, man, who isn't asking for that too. Like they're looking for the emotion, and like because there have been times where I've been like in a student section, I'm filming the students win, lose, or draw because the directors want that emotion, whether it's good or bad, man.
Mm-hmm.
And especially they love the tears of sorrow. They just do, and like it gives them the human element. As much as we kind of like, I think sometimes we scream party foul at it, but crying children every damn time. You find me a director who won't put crying children on the screen, and I'll find you a liar.
Right, but what I would maintain is that there are margins that need to be looked at here. Don't linger on a shot. Don't jam a camera in the face of a loser. Those kinds of things.
That's fine. That's what extenders are for on your camera.
Yeah, right.
So that I'm not up in Sophie Smith's face. I'm, 30 yards away and lock it down.
Apparently, once again, we had moments in England and Nigeria where the ground level cameras wanted to just race up and get that shot. And this is on the international feed. Race up and get that shot. The host network has some control. They can opt to, change to a different shot if they so choose from their own control room. But there was a moment once again in England, Nigeria, where a sideline camera goes and races up and wants to go right into the face of the Nigerian keeper after a match is over. And there were a couple of England players that were right near the Nigerian keeper and basically trying to shield the keeper and their conversation and trying to shoo the camera away from getting that moment. And like I said, I might be an old fud, but there are margins I think we can adhere to. Like Jarrett, like you mentioned, there's extenders, but at the same time, I think that a producer can not linger on a shot. They can take different shots to get the same kind of emotion and not necessarily focus on a particular player and looking at things that way. So we'll see what the how many other elements we can get into, but it's just I'd like for some imagination in some control rooms. There are ways to convey the story without jamming a camera in folks' faces.
Yeah, I mean there are. But we love that emotion. And fans, whether they talk about it or not, I think you get a large percentage that love that emotion, good or bad, especially when a story like it's Nigeria and England. Nigeria, who was dealing with a lot of stuff within the federation before the World Cup. They underachieved in Africa. Yep. They came here.
Yep.
They seemed like them old selves. And then they played England tough for 120 minutes. They're up a man for the last 25 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yeah. After what?
After the red.
What was Lauren James thinking?
Young players sometimes, man. You get the moment gets to you and you make mistakes. It happens. But people love that emotion. Like, and they'll use it because man, look, people were using it this weekend, going back to 2011 when Carly Lloyd missed a penalty.
Yeah.
In the shootout, people were bringing that up, and it's been 12 years.
Yeah. But
so,
what?
It's still. Yeah. Go ahead on.
I was just going to say what. And so, how did Carly Lloyd rebound from that? She had a fantastic tournament in Japan in 2015.
Yeah, hat-trick in the final. Brilliant. But people love that emotion, and for better or worse, and whether it's good or bad, it's going to get used. And look, if the U.S. makes an amazing run in 4 years or 8 years, like, they're going to show clips of Sophie Smith.
Yeah.
They're going to show clips of the Nigerian players if Nigeria comes back in 4 years and does great things. As far as the positive emotion, yeah, it makes for great television because, again, find me someone who's on 3Play who isn't grabbing those clips and slowing them down and getting played over the Fox soccer bed when they're coming back from commercial. But, yeah, I mean, we go for the emotion. It's what makes sport. It's the sports fans are fanatics, and the emotional highs and lows are just part of it. It just sucks when it happens, and then you're just sitting there and you're on the wrong end of it. And especially, I think it's even worse in like the U.S. instance because you had 2 chances in that shootout, for instance, to kill it off.
Yeah.
And 2 people failed to kill it off. The emotional collapse is even worse.
Yeah, and a third hit the post.
And go look at Leagues Cup. Because there were at least, including the Atlanta shootout, there have been at least 3 shootouts where the team that missed their first penalty and went behind, quote unquote, in the shootout ended up winning. Like, these have been some emotionally draining shootouts and have been roller coasters. But yeah, we love the emotion for better or worse, and they're always going to keep sticking cameras in faces because I can tell you, as someone who has hauled around many a camera, you love to hear your number called, and you're trying to get something that can be used on the melt later on. It's the same reason we look for drunk fans in the stadium.
Yeah.
Or weird fans.
Or surrender cobras and things like that. You mentioned Sophia Smith. Jamaica manager Lauren Donaldson, who was Sophia Smith and Mel Swanson's youth coach in the Denver suburbs, was at the USA match. His reflections, and this is courtesy of our friend Jonathan Tannenwald, quote, "Everybody who follows the game knows that I know a lot of the U.S. players. What happened to Sophia, it's just she has to grow from it. I've coached her for a long time. You never want to see that happen to one of your kids. It did happen, and I've heard back from her. I was at the game. I'm sure that Sophia, knowing her, she'll rebound from it, and she'll be just fine because she's a great human being." So, Lauren Donaldson, right there, one of the coaches that's attached to it and has a bit of an inside run. Yeah, that's what we're all looking at. That's why I mentioned what happened with Carly Lloyd in 2011 and rebounding that to 2015. So, like I said, whatever is on your mind this morning, whatever's on your mind. Like I said,
I have something on my mind.
All right, so let me wrap opening kickoff. I got to show the I got to show the QR code. Abby's mad. All right, so that's opening kickoff. Just use more extenders and don't get in people's grills. That's my biggest thing. That's your opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget to use the code soccer down here 15 to get 15% off of your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvest it in the youth initiatives and youth stuff. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Okay, go.
To Abby's point, what happened with Steve McCoy?
Steve has been battling Parkinson's for 15 years.
Oh, Jesus.
And he is...
I didn't know something new had happened.
Well, I mean, but it was a story, and I give Jay Watson full credit for this. Jay caught up with Vicky Locke the other day, and it's on my Facebook page for anybody that follows me, John Freeman Nelson on the FaceSpace. And I reposted Jay's conversation that she had with Vicky and dealing with and putting together a GoFundMe to help Steve and his wife with his care at home. And so, it was, and so here's the, Abby has posted the link in the Twitch pitch, but yeah, just John Freeman Nelson on Facebook, and it's a long conversation, but this is your required reading for the day. Go to my Facebook page, read the story on that Jay Watson posted that I've reposted about the GoFundMe for Steve and his care, but it was only on the condition that half of the money raised in the GoFundMe go to other institutions that help with in-home care when it comes to Parkinson's disease. So it's an update on Steve, that he's been fighting Parkinson's for 15 years. I didn't know it was that deep a battle. And it's an update on him and an update on the family and an update on his care. And this GoFundMe that Jay has now put up for anybody that wants to be a part of it. So, yeah, that's your required reading for the day is the Jay Watson story about catching up with Vicky and finding out about Steve and his wife and what his family is going through right now. And the fundraiser at the Punchline, August 27th, tickets are $75. But once again, remember the cause. If you can afford it, fantastic. Go and laugh. If you can help out with the GoFundMe, if it's something that you are inclined to do that as well. I know that the boss and I will be helping out on the GoFundMe. We've just got to figure out what our budgets are these days. But yeah, so go on my Facebook page and you can keep an eye on that too. But yeah, it's just an update on Steve McCoy and conversation with Jay Watson, Vicky Locke, and the McCoy family. So that's your required reading for the day. I'm going to go ahead and Abby posted this, so I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and do it. You know, we're due for some early morning updates and things like that. So I'll go ahead and take it. Since Abby posted it as such, I will go ahead and continue to read it as such. That's what, man, I thought I hit the loop button, but I guess I didn't. So here we go. And so I have to hit it again so it continues to loop. There we go. You know, I'm going to learn this. I'm going to learn this board sooner or later. All right. So here's the deal about Wednesday. Once again, 7:30 kick, Twos and Crown Legacy, and 7:15 on the network for the pregame show. Brad posted this on the AU2 fan Facebook page, just spoke to the front office. The plan is to have the match at the Fraction Wednesday. Grass is in better shape than before, you know, having a couple of weeks for it to grow. Obviously, that would make sense. Grass is in better shape. Final walkthrough today, though, supposed to give the final word right after the walk. So right now, the match with Crown Legacy, and it's a big one in the Eastern Conference. Crown Legacy and Atlanta United 2, 7:30 Sunday, Wednesday night here on the network, 7:15, your pregame show right now scheduled for the Fraction. So we'll keep an eye on that. As things have transferred for the last two matches over to the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. So keep an eye on that. And once again, when something's final, we'll let you know. But that's the plan. Wednesday is what's going on there. And Tom, yes, Matt Turner to Nottingham Forest. That was the part of the news of the morning. Matt Turner to Forest is happening. David Ornstein broke that a couple of hours ago. So much for Dean Henderson. So now a quality keeper to Nottingham Forest. Steve Cooper will be happy about that, especially as you get into the season. So Matt Turner to Nottingham Forest. We'll keep an eye on that. So a lot of stuff this morning. And I know that, I wanted to have everybody get what happened with the women's national team off their chest. I wanted to get it out in the open, get it out in the ether. When Bart is within earshot and he's like not over the Pacific or something, then we'll get into the discussions with Bart. But just get it out there. Get it out there. Don't linger. Don't let it sit on you. All that kind of stuff. So we'll get into that. I wanted to talk about Leagues Cup, Jarrett, and how absolutely crazy, silly, stupid, and insane it was last night in Frisco, Texas. where I think we have figured out what we knew, but we finally got to see it in action about Inter Messi and that back line and what it's going to be like defending if you are wearing the pink of Inter Miami CF this year. You had an 8-goal round of madness that went to PKs. You had Lionel Messi doing things that Lionel Messi does, and you just kind of sit there and you just throw your hands up and go, "Yep." And Alan Velasco had a match, but FC Dallas, I think, frankly, should have won it. They were in control, and Robert Taylor helped out. OG had a brace with the first 7 goals. And once again, Tafka, off the top of the show, he says anyone not on board for Leagues Cup needs to have their vitals checked, especially after last night. 8 goals on the board, goes to PKs, and Inter Messi CF gets the winner of Charlotte and Houston, low right in your bracket.
Yeah, so Dallas spit the bit. They had a 2-goal lead. They could have had more.
Yeah.
We talked about it before, but Miami's defense is still not good. And if you dominate the ball and you don't really let them have the ball very much, and if you're good in transitions, you can put them under pressure. Not going to say you can beat them outright because they still have Messi, and that counts. Like, man, it counts for a lot.
Yeah.
They still have him, and he can still line up and do amazing things. But, man, it was the one that kills me is Jesus Ferreira, like being one-on-one with the keeper and getting caught from behind because I don't know what the hell he's doing. Yeah, you get the Robert Taylor own goal. Robert Taylor kind of coming back down to earth a bit, which is fine. Kind of expected. He'll be fine. Just a weird game, man. Like you can't foul Miami where you fouled them.
No.
You can't miss chances because as Taylor Twellman will very willingly remind everybody, hey, did you know Atlanta played Miami once?
Yeah.
I think he gets a bonus.
Jerome Bettis is from Detroit, and David Green and David Pollock played football as far back as Little League.
Also, Jordan Walden hopped when he pitched for the Braves.
Yes.
But yeah, you can't commit fouls there, and you have to be ruthless in your finishing because Miami is going to be, because generally it's going to be Messi finishing. But Atlanta had chances. They were wasteful, especially early in the match and then late in the match. Orlando had a couple chances that they didn't put away, and you have to put them away. Right now, it's just, as Miami sits, you have to be very clinical to deal with them, and they weren't. So it's going to come back and bite you. Yeah, you got some help from Robert Taylor. You got Farfan with the most perplexing own goal that I have ever seen. He just kind of goes up. I think he expects the attacker in front of him to get to the ball. He doesn't.
Yeah.
But then Farfan just like loads that head up and then directs it. If he makes contact, it's going to go goalward. I don't know why his head isn't the other way trying to flick the ball away. I don't know why, unless he's trying to head it over the crossbar. I don't know. Yeah. I have no clue what that man was thinking. We talked about Paul McCall. Like, Paul McCall contributing to the debris circling Earth in a decaying orbit.
Skylab.
Yeah. That ball landed. That ball probably landed in Jerry Jones's office. In Arlington.
What's this ball doing? It's the wrong shape.
He won't be upset unless you make him spill his mint julep.
Yeah.
But you got to be clinical when they weren't. And you still had 4 goals. Still a good night. You have to be clinical. My question will be, can Miami keep doing this? Because there's 10 games left in the regular season. Miami also has Open Cup and the rest of Leagues Cup.
Yeah.
Can Messi carry them every game? because, like I said, they can't really defend well, which doesn't mean they're going to lose. It just means games are going to be insanely fun.
Take the
There
over.
will, yeah, take the over with Miami games. If a team is decent at finishing, take the over. It will be fun as a neutral. But can they? What happens if he has a slower night because the wear and tear of travel?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if people know this. The United States is bigger than Spain or France.
What?
Yeah, in fact, it's bigger than both of them put together. Um, Next year, I'll have more questions about it, but yeah, it's only 10 games this year.
But
But
there's a stretch of, I think,
wear
4
and
and
tear
11,
when you're getting
5
older, when you're getting up there in days and
Mm-hmm.
years, the wear and tear. I'll be interested to see how it stacks up. And to Wile E. Coyote's point, both of the own goals were amazing.
Yeah,
It's a brilliant header. Taylor's is a great sliding finish into the corner.
absolutely it is.
Both of them were brilliant. And Coco, someone did the math. Miami needs to average like over 2 points a game the rest of the way to make the playoffs. Because I don't know if we remember. I know we're caught up in the fanfare of Miami. No one more so than Taylor Twellman.
Yeah.
But let's go look at the table. Let's do this in action.
Okay.
MLS standings.
Well, and I'll roll through the goals from last night while you're chasing the
I'm already there.
All right, well then go for it.
So in 9th place right now is DC on 30 points.
Mm-hmm.
Miami has 2 matches in hand on DC. They have a match in hand or 2 matches in hand on both teams. They've only played 22 matches. Miami's on 18 points. They're a point behind Toronto.
Yep.
Anything is possible in this league, but I'm going to tell you the same thing that I said about Atlanta last year. It's not just points, it's bodies that you have to climb. Because as the schedule wears down, and I'm not saying they can't do it, as the schedule wears down, you're not only are you trying to match points, you're trying to climb over teams that are also playing. So at some point, you're going to start needing help. That's where it gets interesting. And yeah, if they get into the playoffs, they're a problem. They're going to be a pain to deal with. But I want to see how they come into league, and I want to see if you start to see some slowdown. Because let's look at Miami's upcoming matches.
Got that.
Oh God, I forgot about that. They play Charlotte on the 20th. They're supposed to play Inter Miami on the 23rd in the Open Cup semifinal. Or I'm sorry, Cincinnati in the Open Cup semifinal on the 23rd.
Yeah.
Then 3 days later, I believe.
Yeah, at Red Bull.
Both of those are on the road. Cincinnati's on the road. Red Bull's on the road. That's 3 days later. Yep. 4 days later, you go back home to play Nashville.
Yep.
4 days later, you go to LAFC.
5 games in 15 days.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a tough stretch, and 3 of those are league games, and you're going to need to win them.
Well, and that they're going to throw everything they have. It's going to be first choice lineup in that Open Cup semifinal.
Oh, yeah, it should be.
So you can work your way around Charlotte and Red Bulls because of that Open Cup semifinal and know that there's going to be some rotation. So you figure of the 3, first choice lineup at home against Charlotte and at TQL against Open Cup, you're going to manage minutes, obviously, and rotated for Red Bulls because it's a road game. And then you come home to play Nashville. That's where I think you get back to first choice. I think that Red Bulls game is going to be a watch.
Nashville's an interesting one for them because Nashville wants to live on the counter anyway. We'll get an idea if their new striker is going to fit what they need. We talked about this last week, but Nashville thrives. They are because I posted the stat in our green room, John. Nashville lives and dies with Hani Mukhtar. Mm-hmm. Like when he has a goal contribution, they win. Unless something happened, I need to check the last game they played. But let me go check Nashville.
I think they're 0-8-4 when Hani Mukhtar does not have a goal contribution.
Yeah, I think them. Like, let me see. Yeah. If you count the fact, I mean, they did beat Cincinnati in the shootout, but yeah, when Hani Mukhtar doesn't score, they don't win.
No, they
Like,
do not.
they just don't. It is like 2019 Joseph, but more so.
Yeah.
Like, it is Nashville needs Hani Mukhtar to do Hani Mukhtar things.
They do.
Let's see, Red Bull's away. That'll be weird. But if Nashville can turn Miami over at any point in that game, Hani Mukhtar running at that back line is terrifying. Even in Miami, yeah, you go to LAFC, which will be an absolute pain to deal with. You just want to survive. But then you have to go back home 6 days later to Sporting.
Yeah.
7 days later, you come to Atlanta, that will be one of the most supercharged atmospheres in the league this year. Because there is going to be Messi mania, but you also have Joseph and Tata coming back to Atlanta for the first time. That might be the most supercharged atmosphere that the league has this year. Don't at me, haters. It's not just an Atlanta thing. It's because of the people involved. Yeah, Toronto they'll be fine with. Orlando will be interesting for them. New York City they should be okay with. Chicago, that's going to Chicago.
Yeah. Full house, Soldier Field.
Full house, Soldier Field. Hosting Cincinnati. With Cincinnati may have the Shield locked up.
But that's 3 days
have
later.
the tops. Yeah, they might have the top seed locked up. Then you go into the season in Charlotte.
Well, but you've also got Open Cup final. You've got Open Cup final, I think, in that gap in there somewhere. Hang on, let me find. When's the Open Cup final? Can you get that faster than I can?
Yeah, give me a second. Open Cup finale. That's not how I spell final.
Yes.
Let's see. Does not have a schedule.
September 27 is the Open Cup final. So,
which would sandwich between their Orlando game and the New York City game. That means they would go to Orlando, which isn't far, thank God. 3 days later, you'd have to play the Open Cup. Not sure where that is, but on the 30th, that's doable unless you have to travel for the Open Cup final, because I don't know what the bracket breakdown is. But because the two teams in the West for the Open Cup, Real Salt Lake and Houston, neither one of those are enjoyable trips.
No
one wants to play in Houston
in late
summer night. In September in this case.
Yeah.
Salt Lake at that time in September might honestly be, Salt Lake's dry. You might be kind of chilly, honestly. That might not be bad at all. That's a weird little hop, skip, and jump travel.
Yeah, and Tom reminds us
of just saw the highlights from last night.
Yeah. And Tom reminds us of the World Cup qualifying for Argentina and Venezuela on the 12th. And that match is in La Paz. They've got the one in La Paz.
So let's run through that as well, because Argentina's World Cup qualifier, they have 2 games in this World Cup qualifier because, again, UEFA could never deal with CONMEBOL.
Nope.
Because Argentina's 2 qualifiers are, where's Mataflo when I need him? Because their first one is hosting Ecuador, which it just sounds so it's like hosting Ecuador is like trying to catch a ball of knives rolling down a hill. You might do it. You're not coming away clean. And then you have to go to La Paz. And for those of you that don't know, La Paz is about 12 to 13,000 feet above sea level.
So at the highest elevation of any national stadium on this planet.
And it's like, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's hard, man. Like, if you've ever been that high up, if you've ever been that high up, it's brutal. It's hard to catch your breath.
Yeah.
And it feels like every time you breathe, it feels like you're getting less and less air in your lungs.
Yeah.
That's going to be, and I don't know who or what is going to be going for Argentina in that World Cup qualifier. But yeah, that'll be dumb.
The point made is that the Argentine qualifiers may affect who's available on the 16th. You're going to race back and play down here and have all of that. I mean, woo! Well, and D Graham, you're probably right. You're probably right. Nepal's national stadium higher in elevation, but yeah, you got. But considering what happened last night, Tom, I know that we're kind of sitting there and we're not talking about Venezuela and Joseph Martinez, but remember, in the highlights that you just saw, Joseph Martinez caused a transitional opportunity for FC Dallas that created a goal. And he was getting barked at by number 10 on more than one occasion in the second half. Do not be surprised if you see more Leo Campagna than you do Joseph Martinez at this rate. All of the sidling and the two shots. Are we seeing something here?
Man, you know what? La Paz isn't even the highest stadium in South America. The Peñalocitas Carrión in Peru is 14,000 feet. Jesus Christ.
That's three Denvers.
You're dodging re-entry. You're dodging re-entry at that point.
Yes.
Highest altitude football stadiums and grounds. Yeah, the Carrión it's in the Andes. It's higher. Apparently they are the highest ones in the world. I guess. I wonder if Nepal put theirs in a valley.
Yeah, really?
Valley being a relative term.
Yes, a relative term.
Yeah.
Coco wants to know if you can do it on a rainy night in Cuscatlan.
Again, man, like ask any of the English teams as my time is almost up, and I do have to turn into a pumpkin.
Yes.
But yeah, ask like any of the UEFA teams, like, hey, we need you to host Ecuador or Colombia. Is it going to be fun? No, it's not. Nothing about. You're not going to enjoy any of this. It's going to hurt the whole time.
No.
And then you have to go play in La Paz.
And then you've got to be back here by the 16th.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. All right, so you back at it again with us tomorrow?
Yeah, that's the game plan.
Okay, so we'll let the game plan be the game plan. We'll be here. So if things work out to where you don't have to like fix the problems of the planet, we'll be here.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
See you in a bit.
All right.
Jared Smith, everybody, and to Night Bam, by the way. The margins. But and Coco, to your point, here's why I think they go all in on Open Cup, if not Leagues Cup. I think that they go all in on Leagues Cup and all in on Open Cup because that gets you into CONCACAF Champions League, and they finish first. They finish ahead of the Major League Soccer playoffs. If you win Leagues Cup or if you win Open Cup, and remember, Open Cup, you only have to win 2 more games. And you're done by September 27th. You're into CONCACAF Champions League at that point. With 4 matches to go in the regular season in Major League Soccer, you will have played, if you beat Cincinnati. If you beat Cincinnati in the semis, you beat either Houston or Real Salt Lake, then you're already into CONCACAF Champions League, which is what Jorge _Mas on the 280 character app is looking for. He wants that regional, that hemispheric exposure. You win Leagues Cup, you've got it. You win Open Cup, you're in. With 4 matches to go left in the regular season. Regular season can be what it is. Hey, we gave it the college try. We tried. We were juggling 3 separate competitions. And we've tried our best, and those last 4 matches this season, if they're not anywhere close to being in the playoffs, they become more ceremonial. Messi makes a cameo. Busquets makes a cameo. Jordi Alba makes a cameo. They play at home, make the cameos on the road. Those kind of things. I think it's a match race to get into CONCACAF Champions League. And the faster two ways to do it are Leagues Cup and Open Cup. That's why I'm looking at that schedule, and that's why we keep staring at that schedule. And sitting there, it's like, okay, first choice lineup here, which means rotation here, which means folks here at this venue might be mad. Coco thinks that Tata decides to sit Messi for the first half of the Open Cup game, brings him in if he needs to save him for league games. Tata doesn't like rotating, but he knows he has to get points out of every league game. But, Coco, I would posit in return that if you can get into CONCACAF Champions League and you're into CONCACAF Champions League, then league may not necessarily matter. If you get in, great. If you're close, fine. But you're into CONCACAF Champions League at that point. If you win Open Cup, you win Leagues Cup. And, Tom, I'm glad you got to finally see the highlights from last night. Absolute, oh, my God, drunkenness. Yeah. When was the last time anywhere that each team had an own goal in the same game? And it was funny looking at the juice boxes in that match last night. And you would end up with, for the longest time in the second half, you would end up with overs that would be, and this is as goals are being added. You would end up, for going up until the sixth goal, you had overs being attacked at plus 200. Basically, that means that if you thought another goal was going to get scored, you'd double your money. After that sixth goal got scored, the juice box purveyors got wise, and they only knocked it down to plus 115. That seventh goal that they were waiting for, it's like, nope, hold on, we're losing too much money. Sorry, juice boxes. We're giving away too many juice box six-packs. The seventh goal was at a plus 115. Eighth goal was back up and around plus 150. Ninth goal was at a plus 800, considering how late it was. But for those of you that missed it, required viewing is the highlights from Dallas and Miami yesterday. Messi scores in the 6th minute. And you're sitting there going, okay, here we go. Then Guignon scores in the 37th. Great. And Dallas, once again, speed kills. And they showed that back line of Miller, Krivtsov, Yedlin, they got issues. You run at them, and you're clinical. You have what Alan Velasco had last night. You have what Kamungo had last night. Great story, by the way, on Bernard Kamungo from John Arnold, golden ticket status holder John Arnold. Family of Nigerian immigrants raised in Lubbock, Texas, went to a second-team FCD tryout. And now you're seeing what's going on there. But the required viewing reading would be the story on Kamungo from John Arnold over at his getting. And you can follow at Arnold, John on the 280 character app, and you can get the link for the story. But Guignon and Kamungo score. Kamungo scores right before the half, and it's 2-1. Velasco scores, and it's 3-1. And you're thinking, yeah, okay. Then, substitution, Kremoski comes in 2 minutes later, and it's 3-2. Then the beautiful Robert Taylor own goal as he's trying to come back and defend because you know that others aren't going to. So Robert Taylor has to run his arse off to come back and defend, and he makes contact on the cross, and it goes past Drake Callender, and it's 4-2 at that point. Then you end up with the Farfan OG, which is what we were talking about. It was a gorgeous OG, by the way. That made it 4-3. And then, you have these moments that you kind of sit there and it's like, don't foul, don't foul, don't foul. Oh, crap, he fouled him. And it's within range. And Lionel Messi almost had a picture-perfect free kick. Untouchable from Pice. Untouchable. 4-4. We go to PKs. We've talked about Paxton Pomacle's ball that he sent into orbit and broke a display at the Hall of Fame. I'm just lucky that he didn't break the neon FC Dallas crest that was in that end zone on the stage. Miami wins at 4-3, and Kromoski got the fifth PK. I mean, Kromoski, given by Tata Martino the number 5 slot in the PKs. Speaking of PKs, Alyssa Nair in the 6th frame of the PK, smashing that one home. That was an Alyssa Nair out of her mind in that last match. But Kromoski gets the 5th slot for the PKs. Hammers it home against Pice. They win 5-3 in PK. So if you haven't seen the highlights, go watch the highlights. Absolutely crazy stuff. So that's what you're staring at. We'll get into all the stuff that's on your mind, whether it's women's national team, World Cup in general, my soft heart for TV production, and Leagues Cup. Once again, we got news of the morning also. So all of that stuff here in hour number 2. And like I said, it's wide open. We got news to discuss and all those kinds of things. But since it is the top of the hour, we'll see what happens here. Let me see how well I can coordinate things. It is that time to stop the breaking news music first and foremost, because I had it in loop. And it's always, it's a Monday when. So change the music and get you ready for a promo read, because that's what it's time for. It's about our friends from Eliminize Service. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go, it's Eliminize Service. Eliminize deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment we like that these days. Offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents, because when you have that masking agent that's either above you in the cupboard or underneath the sink, and you reach under the sink or you reach above you in the cupboard and grab that masking agent, there's a reason they call it a masking agent, because when you spray it in the air, all you're doing is masking the odor. You're not attacking the problem like our friends at Eliminize Service do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, go to the website. The website is where I pick up my pen, or a pen. There we go. Website's eliminize.com, but after the .com, do us a favor. Go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from, so they can help you with your issues. Full homework assignment, eliminize.com/Atlanta, eliminize.com/Atlanta. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH on a Monday. And so, obviously, to start off hour number 2, our intrepid searchers of the 280 character app, Ricky, have found things like this that we can talk about when it comes to the sport that we talk about every morning. Aiden McFadden loaned to Memphis 901 FC in the USL Championship for the remainder of the 2023 season. And we know that Aiden has been an integral part of what we've seen from Atlanta United 2 over the last handful of years. From the team, started all 12 of his appearances with the Twos this season. Back on June 26, lone goal of the year on the give-and-go blast from the inside the left edge of the box. Made his MLS debut against Colorado March 5, 22 after being drafted 59th overall in the 2021 MLS Super Draft. Before Atlanta United 2's move to MLS Next Pro, became a staple of the Twos, scoring 8 goals in the 21 season. So Aiden McFadden loaned to Memphis 901 for the remainder of the 2023 season. Not necessarily a surprise considering Aiden's previous coaches with the Twos. Morning, Modiflow. So he can learn from Stephen Glass. He can be a part of that. He can be a part of Memphis 901 and USL Championship. And you hope that being around some familiar faces, that you're looking at just continued growth from Aiden McFadden. Also, speaking of news that just broke, and Tom, may the car get jumped appropriately and be back amongst the living. Speaking of USL Championship, North Carolina FC is rejoining the USL Championship in 2024. Rejoining USL Championship after time in USL League One. So they are jumping back into the fray in the second division after a 3-year absence. Sanctioned as a D2 league, North Carolina FC previously competed in the championship between 18 and 20 before moving to USL League 1 and 21. Move to rejoin the championship exemplifies, and this is from the league office, exemplifies the club's mission of bringing high-quality professional soccer to the Triangle. Quote from Steve Malik, with the addition in the press release. With the addition of North Carolina FC and Rhode Island FC, USL Championship expected to have 26 teams in 24. President Jeremy Allenbaugh quoted in the press release as well. Francie Gottsagen, for us, it's the perfect time to move up to USL Championship. We've made sweeping upgrades to our front office infrastructure growing out of the pandemic. We feel confident we're in a place to compete at this level, both on field and organizationally. Owe it to our fans and community to deliver the best possible product, ensuring the stability and viability of the club for the future. And so North Carolina FC going back to the championship, anticipating now 26 teams for the 2024 season. So now USL League One, as you have number of teams in the league this year at 12, they would go back to 11. Right now, North Carolina FC is on top in USL League One, 2 points clear of Northern Colorado Hailstorm. So you go back to 11 teams, plus you have expansion that's coming down the line in Santa Barbara and Spokane, plus other teams that will be a part of the process. So they're adding 2 and losing 1. So they'll be at 13 when Spokane and Santa Barbara come online to help with the Western coefficient for USL League One. And so hopefully what we can do is get some word out of North Carolina when it comes to the jumping back into the second division by North Carolina FC. And I think a lot of that for North Carolina FC, a lot of that helps is that capital that they recently raised. They had a petitioning for the petition for the addition of more capital funds, so they can do that, and so they met their target number when it came to the funds that they were looking for. Capital Broadcasting was part and parcel to making sure that idea came online. And then now with this infusion of capital and the upgrades and such, North Carolina heads back up the USL Championship after this season. Well, and four card, I guess you can call it pro rel in a way. They promoted themselves since, by the way, the vote that was scheduled, and remember, we have owners meetings going on in USL Championship this week in Colorado Springs. They're supposed to be going on the early part of this week. The pro rel discussion that was supposed to be had is now been shelved. So there is not going to be any kind of pro rel discussion in the short term when it comes to USL Championship and USL League One. They'll talk about it at a later date. You can follow Jeff Reuter. Jeff Reuter broke that update last week. So at the owners' meetings in the USL that are going to be had in Colorado Springs, there's not going to be any kind of a discussion for promotion and relegation. So four card with the money, and basically Mataflo's right. Anything's possible with enough money. They feel that they can handle things well enough financially, travel, infrastructure, etc., that they can make the jump back up to USL Championship and be in that Eastern Division and that kind of a thing. So Steve Mallett confident enough with the capital, with the infusion of capital and the upgrades that they can fend for themselves in USL Championship. So we'll see. But now the net is +1 in USL League One instead of now +2. So it will be 13 teams right now in USL League One for the 24 season. Anticipated 26 teams with Rhode Island and North Carolina coming online in USL Championship for the 2024 season. So Amelia wants to know about the benefit of the loan to Memphis for Aiden McFadden. Playing time. Aiden was not getting a whole lot of playing time with the twos. Those spots were being that time was being taken up by Aiden Torres and Sean Lanza at the right. So giving younger kids is what they are, younger players the opportunity, and they were getting those minutes. And so for Aiden, it's a chance to get the minutes and get the reps that he wasn't getting, with Atlanta United and Atlanta United too. So looking at the roster currently for Stephen Glass and for Memphis 901. You're looking at defenders, and we'll look at defenders and midfielders. Defenders, Von Steeg, Tercey, Akeem O'Connor, Ward, Graham Smith, Reese Buckmaster, Jelani Peters, Nicholas Dyer, and Aiden McFadden. Wow, they wasted no time. They've got a picture of McFadden in his twos outfit, so they have him listed as a defender. So he's one of 8 defenders on the roster currently. And so it's Von Steeg, Tercey, O'Connor, Ward, Graham Smith, Reese Buckmaster, who plays more of an advanced role, which is kind of what Aiden McFadden would be doing as well when he plays. Jelani Peters, Nicholas Dyer, Aiden McFadden. So McFadden is right now one of 8 defenders for Stephen Glass and Memphis 901 for the remainder of this season. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. So that's what, and I mean, it's a higher level of competition. I mean, from an age perspective, Coco, yeah. I mean, you're still going up against teams in MLS Next Pro that are, of the same age group that you are. And when it comes to age and competition, I mean, it's not just a mutually exclusive thing too. So biggest thing for Aiden is playing time, getting the chance to compete and play for Stephen Glass and the roster at Memphis 901. Memphis 901, one of the upper teams in the Eastern Conference right now. So they would, at least if the season ended today, they would have home playoff games at AutoZone Park. So slow start for Stephen Glass's group, but then they finally got hitting on all cylinders, and now they're one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Biggest thing for Aiden is playing time, competing for playing time and playing time. So that's what you're looking at for Aiden McFadden. That's what you're staring at. So let's see what is on y'all's mind this morning. I'm going to kind of zoom through and see if there was something going on. Tafka on the WWNT said it weeks ago, wouldn't be surprised by an early exit. Didn't look good going in, didn't look good once the turning began. Say you're saving your other opinions on the matter, other than to say I think hubris played a part. Well, hubris in the sense of you had older players and you were more comfortable with the older players. And then there were some positions where, Crystal Dunn playing at the back, where you didn't have any kind of either confidence, development, or both in Vlatko Andonovski's mind. And then word came out yesterday in the Philadelphia Daily News. It looks like Julie Ertz is hanging up her international shingle. Looks like she's done playing international, representing her country. You had Crystal Dunn playing in a position of need as opposed to a position of want. You would have liked for her to have been more advanced, but you needed her help at the back. So I think that if you look at that as an example, perhaps it's development. We can get into the discussion all week long as the tourney continues to develop. It was the defense was there, and the offense was just not clinical. I mean, the shots were there, and when you had in the game this weekend, Mushovic 11 saves. I mean, you were the aggressor in the match. You just didn't get anything in the back of the net, and then things get put to chance in penalties. And penalties are what penalties are, and penalties drive folks crazy for a reason. And so you can't let it get to that. You can't let it get to that point. 2 goals in 17 games for Alex Morgan. I would have liked to have seen Trinity Rodman more. 17 World Cup matches. But remember, and David, Alex Morgan was doing different things in her skill sets. I know that we can look at raw numbers. Emilio, it might be kind of like the 90s Celtics or the Lakers. It might be like breaking up Showtime. That kind of a thing. D. Graham, if I'm the USWNT's next coach, all 30-plus-year-old players are excluded from future camps after their goodbye game. And Emilio, once again, sticking around too long. Yeah. I understand. And this is the beauty of hindsight, that we're looking at this the way that we are. I know that we look at the 30-plussers and we sit there and say that they had no business being there. I know that Megan Rapinoe did not have a good tournament. And I know that because of that, the thought pattern is to continue to take it back another step and sit there and go that she didn't deserve to be there. If in Vlatko Andonovski's mind, he needed to have a Megan Rapinoe there and if you caught us from South Main Brewing in Watkinsville on Saturday, by the way, thanks to our friends at South Main. Fantastic venue. The old Southwire plant up in Watkinsville, they've converted that into an industrial space. Great work from them. And as I know, once again, it goes off on a tangent. Once again, thanks to our friends at Athens United for visiting as well. And thank you for the scarf, which gets added to the wall. But, as we talk about, the women's national team, and I said at that remote at South Main Brewing, I said that that the reason I thought that Megan Rapinoe was there was that there's always that moment that you're looking for from Megan. I did not anticipate her starting unless it was in a game against Vietnam where she's getting minutes and she's getting acclimated and getting comfortable once again in a World Cup setting. But I always have the moment of Rapinoe and Wambach in the back of my head. that kind of talent is that the kind of moment is always lingering. And I thought that having that kind of experience, having that kind of World Cup experience, having an Alex Morgan there to help the younger players in this World Cup setting, I thought it was important for that. I understood why they were there. And Megan Rapinoe did not feature well at all in the final in the final game. Since Bart isn't here, we'll go into the end of an era. And here's once again, this is what we like to do. Once again, this is from Mike Woitala. So your numbers. Alyssa Nair was out of her mind. She gets like a 32 in my book. Going in, Vlatko had 2 lineup changes from Portugal. Emily Sonnet for Rose Lavelle, Trinity Rodman for Lynn Williams. And the point that Jason made is he was trying to sit there and figure out, with no Rose Lavelle, what do you do? And I was thinking Savannah DeMello or Megan Rapinoe. Give me 45, give me a moment, and that's what I'm hunting for. Didn't happen. But when you bring in Trinity Rodman for Lynn Williams, you pull Lynn Williams off, that offense is missing. Emily Sonnet comes in, and she performed really well. Only regulation sub was bringing Williams on for Rodman in the 66th. First overtime sub, he brings in Rapinoe. According to Woitala, if Andonovski brought her in for set plays, badly overestimated her service ability. Then he waited until the 120th for Christy Mewis, Kelly O'Hara, and that was for their PKs. So then you get to the shootout. You've got to put it on frame. You've got to put it on frame. Smash the daylights out of it. Panenka, whatever, but you've got to put it on frame. Sophia Smith, wide. Megan Rapinoe, high. Just both of them not close. And then Kelly O'Hara off the post. You've got to put it on frame. Got to put it on frame. Alyssa Nair got a 7. Defenders, Emily Fox got a 5. Naomi Girma got an 8. Julie Ertz got a 7. Crystal Dunn got a 6. Midfield, Sonnet got a 3. Andy Sullivan got a 4. Lindsey Horan got a 5. Trinity Rodman got a 4. Alex Morgan and Sophia Smith got 3s. Woitala. Morgan was a non-factor until the 76th. 89th, Morgan's header saved by Musovic. Morgan hadn't scored or troubled defenses much in 3 group games. Teams with an ineffective center forward don't get far in knockout stage play unless they've had an array of offensive prowess, which the U.S. team did not. I would disagree about the non-factor. We get into shots and shots on target and things like that. Non-factor, that's stretching it a bit, I think. Lynn Williams got a 3. Megan Rapinoe got a 2. O'Hara Mewis didn't get ranked any ratings because of, once again, coming in the 120th for PKs. Shots for the U.S., 11 on target. Musovic, 11 saves. 22 shots on the day. 9 shots for Sweden, only 1 on target. So 1 save for Nair. 56-44 in possession. David. Without someone with the highest soccer IQ and physical skill like Ertz at the 6, Horan's limited on impact. Sullivan is not Ertz, which is true. Chases is running like a chicken with her head cut off. Very good soccer player, not Julie Ertz. We saw Horan more impactful with double pivot, providing more D. Further note with Ertz, as center backs, we did very little chasing by our center backs. Ertz and Jimmer were very solid. D. Graham, Sonnet and Sullivan shut down Aslani, which effectively shut down Sweden's offense, and that's what you were hunting for. And the thoughts, Jonathan Tannenwald, once again, and I'm going back to a lot of his work from Australia and New Zealand. And let me find the quote. I think it was asked of Aslani. Yeah, it was from Aslani and Magdalena Eriksson, what they think of the U.S.'s future. Aslani, quote, "It's the U.S. They'll raise their standards and they're going to come back. I've heard there's been a lot of talk about it, but they'll come back for sure. They have so much quality in their team, and this defeat will not take them down. I expect them to be ready for the next World Cup. We see more and more national teams are investing and raising their level as well. That's important. But, I mean, they, meaning the U.S., have a really good team. So I wouldn't say that they're out of the game at all. So don't talk ish about the U.S. women." It was bleeped out, but you can pretty much figure what the word is. "I think you should be proud of your team. You have a really good team and really good players, and they're taking the fight not just on the pitch, outside of the pitch. And this is what it takes to raise women's football to the next level. So I think you should encourage them and be a little bit more positive towards them." Erickson, quote, "I think they proved today they're still an amazing team. They're definitely the toughest team we've faced so far in the tournament. They have amazing players, and like you said, the youngsters really impressed. I think both Girma and Smith had an amazing game. You also have Macario and Swanson that are injured. So know the future is still bright for the U.S. They're still a massive powerhouse in women's football, and they will be for a long time." That's Aslani and Erickson about the U.S. team. David, Vlatko anointing Haran as captain, top starter day one only contributed to the lack of growth in the cycling. You missed the chances up top, Abby, as you did. I know, Abby. How long ago was that with Rapinoe and Wambach? I know it was over a decade ago, but I'm always locked into those kind of moments. If that ability is there, that maybe you get that. It reminds me, Abby, of the. I don't know how many of you saw the movie For Love of the Game, and if you didn't, it's a Bernard Malamud book that was turned into a movie. Kevin Costner, Kelly Preston, etc. Kevin Costner is a pitcher for the Detroit Tigers, late in his career, late 30s, early 40s. And last day of the season, debating retirement. And through this game, he's kind of reliving his life as a Detroit Tiger, and it's both personal and professional. And as the game is going on, he's pitching a perfect game against the New York Yankees in a game that means absolutely nothing for his Detroit Tigers. And Vin Scully in the call was and this is paraphrasing the line, but it's a moment where you get to push the clouds away from the sun. You get to see the sun for that one final time in a career that is fading down. And that was a paraphrase of the Vin Scully call in that movie. That's frankly what I was thinking. If you could bring Rapinoe in off the bench, that's what you could have. Could you have that one moment where in a game where you needed that ability that we've seen so many times, could you have that one more time? And the answer sadly was no. I don't know. Call me a romanticist, call me an optimist or whatever when it comes to understanding something. That's why I figured Vlatko had Megan Rapinoe as a part of this roster, for that veteran leadership and for that moment. The moment was never there. Like I said, it's not the first time I'm wrong, won't be the last. David, top players on Sunday, Fox, Rodman, and Girma will be okay long-term. They were all great. Time to find a long-term 6 or a 9. Could be Smith, Mewis returning a left back. Mewis is 30. Does she return in 4 years? That's a good question. But when you have 5 players under the age of 23, I want to say, 22, 23, and 2 of them that are injured that were a part of this, You've got a lot of stuff that you can build on here with this roster. Girma, Macario, Smith, Thompson, Sanchez, Shaw, Coffey, Fischel, Davidson, Olivia Moultrie. It's their time. But what you've got to do as a part of this is continue the development. And you can't be afraid, and you also can't be afraid of playing younger players if they show in camp, in practice, that they are the better ones for a given situation. You've got to look into that. You can't have an individual, and I know that Vlatko Andonovski at times opts on the side of experience going into a situation. That's just how he's wired. I know to me, that's how he does things. You want to ease your way into a tournament. You want to sit there and make sure that everyone's on the same page. You want to be sure that your defense will stop folks from scoring first, and then sort it out from the back to the front. D. Graham's Jirma was okay. Sweden's tactical approach of using Blackstenius against Ertz was a failure. She could have outmuscled Jirma easily, but their coach wanted to leave that space for Aslani. But I think on the larger scale, players that were injured that you could have used, Swanson and Mallory Swanson, that was a part of this as well. Katerina Macario injured, not a part of this. But this generation, do we see Alex Morgan again? I don't think so. We're not going to see Julie Ertz, apparently, as she alluded to her retirement. And then in the Philadelphia Daily News, it looked like she was calling it. And obviously, Megan Rapinoe retiring from international duty. So it's that time for change. But what you've got to do is you've got to continue these waves of development. It can't just be like, oh, the 30-somethings are gone, now we can insert. No, it has to be a development, and it's got to be a continual process where the waves continue to come when it comes to what's there for U.S. women's soccer. Not something where it's like, oh, you need to make change for the sake of change, and it's because of what's listed on a driver's license. It's if the younger players are there, then bring them in and let them work. Like I said, that's just me. You got to let things build. No, and Abby says when in your knockouts you can't always play it safe. You got to take chances, and that's the delicate balance in a situation like this. If you feel like then the thing is, in this knockout game, the U.S. was the superior team. You look at the numbers once again. Look at all the numbers. Look at the shots on target. And like I said, Musovic, 11 saves. Sometimes you got a day, and she had one. None of it ended up in the back of the net. You go to PKs after an extra 30 minutes, and it ends up being as cruel as it is. But like I said, Alyssa Nair, and to think that maybe, I mean, and obviously this is before the days of VAR. Yeah, but once again, Abby, as you well know, Abby would have liked to have seen Sanchez and Thompson get some time, but you know that coaches have their mindset and they have their ideas as to who their players are in these situations. And sometimes, and coaches aren't going to shake from that unless something is seismic and they sit there and go, oh, I've really got to do something about it. In the days before video assistant referee, that save by Nair, the double save, probably would have been a double save and you would have kept going in the shootout. But the margin of the ball, millimeters sent the United States home. Plus not scoring and all the other things. But in that context of that last match, it was millimeters that sent the United States home. Now, what do you do about it? you all know that I'm not a multi-cycle guy. And Laura Harvey had mentioned that, yes, she would be interested when it comes to she figures that the asking is going to happen. Here was what U.S. Soccer said after the match, quote, "While we're all disappointed that our journey has ended at the Women's World Cup, we want to thank the players, coaches, and staff for the remarkable effort, and to our fans, both in the stands and at home, for their unwavering support. As we always do after a major tournament, we'll conduct a review to identify areas of improvement and determine our next steps. As we look ahead, we embrace the hard work necessary to become champions again." So you got that. Laura Harvey, on whether she's interested in the U.S. job and whether she would criticize any of Vlatko Andonovski's tactics. Quote, "No, not at all. I haven't got any critique about him. He's a phenomenal coach, a phenomenal human being. I was so privileged to work with him. And my focus right now is the rain. REIGN, not the precipitation. We're in the middle of a season. We put ourselves in a really good position in both competitions that we're in right now. My focus is solely on the rain, on knowing that her name will be in the headlines, not least because she was the runner-up to Antonovsky 4 years ago. Quote, look, I've lived it before. I lived this 4 years ago. I'm very mindful that this is my priority. This job is my priority. I love it here. That's no secret. I've committed to the future of this club. I think I will delete all my social media for a little bit just to try and keep myself on track. And look, I get it. I actually give our team and players credit if my name is anywhere near anything, because that just shows the performances that our group's been putting in. But, my priority is the rain. I've not shied away from it. I've said this publicly. I enjoyed my time at U.S. Soccer. That's no doubt. The U.S. women's national team is probably the top job in the world, not a top 3 job in the world. That's just reality. And if my name's anywhere near it, then that's an honor. But first and foremost, my priority is the rain. It's really hard to block it out. There's no doubt about that, but I've lived it before, so I've got a little bit of experience with it. So that's what you're staring at with Laura Harvey. Laura Harvey knows that it's coming. But as I've said, I'm not a fan of multiple cycles. Not a fan of multiple cycles. So then who do you bring in? Harvey, Wiegman. Then I know that if you look at Serena Wiegman, you're sitting there going, okay, when's her contract out? What's the buyout? And what can we pay her? Italian national team head coach Milena Bertolini resigned overnight after they failed to advance out of the group stage. Wiegman, Harvey. That's what you're staring at. When it comes to the possible, probable short list of names that's attached, if Vlatko Andonovski is removed from his position, contract not renewed, whatever phraseology you want to discuss. But once again, Lauren James has a Becca moment. She will not be available in the knockouts next time. So we'll keep an eye on that. Cool feature that Alex has put in the Twitch pitch about Lionel Messi paying for a fan's knee surgery. So that's in the Twitch pitch. Daily Mirror, it's an exclusive. Season ticket holder for Red Bulls, but will miss the arrival of Lionel Messi to play against her beloved team. Amanda Libre, who hails from West Orange, New Jersey, season ticket holder, works in tech, able to pay for her knee surgery after she sold her ticket to the game. So it's more along the lines of Lionel Messi coming to Red Bull Arena gave her the chance to pay for a knee surgery as opposed to the overt kindness of Lionel Messi. Yeah, David, the Jamaica coach Yeah, we mentioned Lorne Donaldson earlier. He about his quote about Sophia Smith and Mal Swanson. So he knows the he knows some of the players on the women's national team. Yes. The margin for error. I don't know what the margin for error was with a goal line video camera. The margin in and of itself of ball to line, it had cleared by a few millimeters. But yeah, I just wonder, before VAR and before goal line technology, it would have been up to the TV cameras to sit there and say, yeah, it stands, or yeah, it doesn't, and then the eyes of the judges on the end line. Just saying, that's what you're staring at with all this kind of stuff. That's what you're looking at in all of this. But yeah, so go back and watch the highlights from Dallas and Miami, because it was stupid insane, and I'm being kind. We mentioned all of the stuff going on this morning. Gossip, rumor, innuendo, and things left unsaid. We get into what your TV viewing habits are and what they can be today. We'll get into the Matt Turner thing in a bit. Saudi Arabian side Al Ittihad will offer Liverpool 60 million euro for Salah and are prepared to pay him 180 million euro on a 2-year deal. That's from Al Riyadiyah. Saudi Pro League targeting other names like Kevin De Bruyne for major raids next year. Yes, and Emilio, the ball has to be completely over the line like a hockey puck. It has to completely clear. Any part of the ball that's on the line, no goal. Completely over. Barcelona have submitted a joint loan offer to Manchester City for Joao Cancelo and Bernardo Silva and are willing to buy the latter permanently next summer. Arsenal's efforts to land David Raya are in their final stage, with the Gunners' American backup Matt Turner set to join Nottingham Forest. From Fabrizio Romano, David Ornstein, that said that once again, Matt Turner to Nottingham Forest, done. Nottingham Forest are also in line to sign Kasper Schmeichel from Nice. I don't know how that would affect what's going on. I still think they should sign Keylor Navas to a longer loan, but that's just me. PSG and Mbappe prepared to spend a season in the Premier League on loan before securing his dream move to Real Madrid, according to our friends at the Mirror. Chelsea ready to make an improved bid for Moises Caicedo. Isn't this like the 19th bid for Caicedo from Chelsea? After the Ecuadorian was left out of the Seagull squad for their friendly with Rayo Vallecano. Fulham defender Tosin Adarabioyo snubbed a proposed move to Spurs, with the English defender keen to join Monaco instead. That's a 3-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Crystal Palace in talks on a loan deal, £24 million obligation to buy for Bayer Leverkusen defender Odilon Kosunu, while the Eagles also want Lewis Hall, Chelsea U21 player. 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Arsenal midfielder Jorginho interested in Fenerbahce amid reports the Italians unsettled in North London. Bournemouth have rejected an approach from West Ham for Dominic Solanke. Burnley have increased their offer to £12 million for Aaron Ramsey and are chasing Manchester United's left-back Alvaro Fernandez on loan. 4-letter paper. West Ham's £25.9 million bid for Ajax's midfielder Edson Alvarez, still short of the Dutch club's valuation. Bournemouth's £12 million move for Fiorentina midfielder Gaetano Castrovilli is off after the 26-year-old failed a medical. 4-letter paper. Nottingham Forest will turn their attentions to Corinthians' £11 million rated central defender Murillo after they tried to sign Roger Ibanez from Roma. Leicester City stepping up their efforts to bring in Chelsea midfielder Cesare Casade on loan. That's from the Leicester Mercury. That is from our friends at the BBC. Get into Sky in the papers and see what they have. This was the other piece of information. We'll go ahead and give it this one. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll go ahead and do that. I think that we should go ahead and hit this one for that when it comes to this particular gentleman. Harry Kane. Tottenham have rejected Bayern Munich's latest and quote final bid. Kane was discussed at a meeting with Bayern exec morning in their pursuit of Their final offer of €100 million add-on. The club representatives met in London. There was at least a £20 million gap in valuation. Bayern's offer reduced the gap. The Bundesliga side wanted a quick response, otherwise they would move on to other targets. Do they move on to other targets? I doubt it. Oh, sorry. Music was too high. Spurs rejected Bayern's latest and final bid on Harry Kane. Final, the word in quotation marks. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know that I was womp through all of that. Yes, I know. And I'm doing the breaking news thing on purpose. Yeah, I'm having it kind of be underneath, you know? Since I'm reading the story, I figured I would go ahead and maybe put in a new wrinkle. I was in a pillow. That's weird. I guess it was probably when I was potting the music in. So, Spurs rejected Bayern Munich's latest and final, in quotation marks, bid for Harry Kane. Bayern thought they compromised, put up to €100 million in add-ons. Still muffled? Fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. Now, let's see if I'm muffled now. All right, so Bayern Munich has been turned down for their final offer for Harry Kane. We'll keep an eye on that. Yeah, I turned the music off, Endall. That's how. Maybe I should just do stingers instead of having it be a bet underneath me. So they turned down the offer for Harry Kane. Spurs did. Bayern felt they compromised with the offer. They had a £20 million gap late last week. That gap got closed. And so Bayern was like, okay, we'll close it. They want a quick response. Otherwise, they're going to move on. So that's where we are with Harry Kane. All right. Transfer Center Live from our friends. West Ham agreed on the deal for Alvarez. Johnny Evans has a couple of weeks of his preseason contract to go. It's thought that Manchester United will then review his situation to see whether or not Johnny Evans gets to stay. Lille, interested in signing Fulham winger Ivan Cavallero, entered the final year of his contract with an option for another year. Still no resolution on a potential swap deal involving Romelu Lukaku and Dusan Vlahovic. Chelsea and Juve are still discussing the amount Chelsea would have to pay on top of Lukaku heading back in exchange. Lukaku spent last year on loan at Inter. Torino close to an agreement with West Ham over the permanent signing of forward Nikola Vlasic. He joined from CSKA Moscow for around $27 million in the summer of 21, spent last season on loan at Torino. Arsenal have rejected a bid from Monaco for Valérien Balogun. Arsenal value the player at $50 million. Monaco's offer falls short. Inter Milan expected to push to sign Balogun. Balogun has 2 years left on his deal, would like a permanent move away from the club. So we'll keep an eye on that. PSG will make a move for Ansu Fati after completing the signing of Ousmane Dembele, according to our friends at AS. The former Barca coach knows Enrique knows the youngster well. PSG thinks they can get a deal done inexpensively because of Barcelona's financial issues. You and everybody else. Forest agreed to the deal with Arsenal to sign Matt Turner in a deal that could be worth up to £10 million for the Gunners. Forest paying an initial $7 million plus $3 million in performance metrics. Matt Turner was on his way to Nottingham Forest for a medical. So Arsenal, Turner goes to Nottingham Forest, $7 million plus another possible $3 million in add-ons. So Matt Turner ends up heading to Nottingham Forest if the medical comes out in one good piece. Radio silence between PSG and Real Madrid this summer. No formal approach for Mbappe. PSG expecting Real Madrid to make a half-hearted bid for Mbappe 1 or 2 days before the summer window closes on the 1st of September. PSG are convinced that the players already agreed to move to Real Madrid on a free transfer next summer. They will report Real Madrid to FIFA if they discover they've spoken to the player without their permission. Despite public denials, PSG expected Real Madrid to sign another forward this month after Benzema joined Al Ittihad back in June. Rosario Central, and we talked about Alejo Veliz undergoing a medical with Spurs today. Mickey Van de Ven also undergoing his medical. Spurs finalized the deal with Wolfsburg late last week. paying an initial fee of €40 million, rising to a potential $50 million inclusive of add-ons. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain expected to arrive in Turkey in the next 24 hours to continue talks with Besiktas. Burnley in talks to sign Sheffield United midfielder Sander Berge into the final 12 months of his Blades deal. Berge has been one of the club's best players in recent seasons. They've already lost Iliman Ndiaye, their top goal scorer from last year. Fulham edging closer to an agreement with Chelsea over the signing of Callum Hudson-Odoi, entered the final year of his deal and will leave the club in this window. Agreement over personal terms with Fulham not expected to be a problem. David wants to know if we can start calling Turner Robin Hood since he's about to be stealing goals from the rich to give to the poor. Steve Cooper, if Steve Cooper gets Matt Turner to stop things and keeps them up to where they're not having to pull their hair out at the end of the season to figure out if they're going to stay up or not, they'll take it and call him whatever he wants. West Ham has agreed to personal terms with Edson Alvarez 2 hours ago. West Ham paying an initial £32 million plus another $2 million in performance-related add-ons, expected to fly to UK for a medical. They are not giving up, West Ham, on signing James Ward-Prowse. Initial £30 million bid has been rejected. Formal announcement on Gianluca Scamaccia's move from West Ham to Atalanta expected soon. Atalanta have agreed on a deal worth €32 million, guaranteed 26 plus 6 in performance-related add-ons. Scamaccia due to complete his medical today. And the Besiktas still pushing to sign Arsenal forward Nicola Pepe. Pepe's entered the final year of his Arsenal contract, not part of Mikel Arteta's plans. And the Besiktas do not want to pay a transfer fee. So I got to keep an eye on that. Tino Livramento set to be added to Newcastle. Completed a medical ahead of a £32 million move there. Looks like the Spurs might be joining the James Ward-Prowse race. According to our friends at the Mirror, set to enter for Ward-Prowse as Ange Postecoglou wants to put his stamp on the squad. So Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool are the ones that are allegedly, possibly, probably, maybe interested in the loan deal for Mbappe. Aaron Ramsdale admitted Arsenal had a mental block against Manchester City after ending a dreadful run against their rivals in Community Shield. By the way, short of, I think, one time in the last decade, the team that won Community Shield has not won the Premier League. Sorry, Arsenal fans. Avoiding the 3 and the 4 letter paper as we always do. Daily Record, Albion Ajeti's former club Basel reportedly interested in bringing him back, but his wages could prove to be a stumbling block. And that is all of that news that's fit to print. What can you watch on TV today? Plenty to play with there as well. Remember, those of you that got up this morning, I tip my hat to you. Trust me, I tip my hat. Liverpool and Darmstadt, a club friendlies on CBS Sports Network at 2. Bayern Munich and Monaco coming up in 6 minutes on Fox Deportes. Goal TV has the Ecuadorian Primera on tonight at 8. And if you're interested in Goal TV, BN, For the Fans, Teisei, places like that, you can go to Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Then what you can do is you can help out the show. You can help Fanatis out. You can watch all the stuff. Yesterday, I was watching a lot of the Brasileiro action yesterday, as a matter of fact. Telemundo, Universo, they were simulcasting this morning. They'll do that again tomorrow. Season Pass, Leagues Cup, three matches tonight. Union Red Bulls at 7:30, Revs and Querétaro at 8, Charlotte and Houston at 10. Winner of Charlotte and Houston gets Inter Messi. CONCACAF Go, which is something I've never heard of before, has the CONCACAF U15 Boys Championship at 6 tonight with the U.S. and Cuba. Paramount Plus has their standard amount of all-over-the-place stuff for the true degenerate viewers. Argentine Primera is at 4:30 and 7, Independiente, River Plate, Newell's, and Colón. Brasileiro at 3 and 6, Palmeiras, Goiás, Atlético Mineiro, Atlético Paranaense, and that club friendly we were talking about with Liverpool and Darmstadt. Peacock simulcasting everything as well in the Women's World Cup round of 16. Tomorrow morning, before we come on the show, before we come on live, Colombia, Jamaica is at 4 a.m. France and Morocco is at 7 a.m. So that's on FS1, that's on Telemundo, that's on Universo, and that is on Peacock. So that is your information for what you can be watching. Getting into the juice boxes, we need to get into the juice boxes for today and let you know what's going on there. With Leagues Cup, your juice boxes tonight. Philadelphia is a plus 108. Your draws a plus 222, and Red Bulls are a plus 257. Querétaro and the Revs. Querétaro, big underdog. I know that Shooter's probably putting his hands over his ears and just screaming and shaking his head from side to side as the Revs are a minus 179. Probably shouldn't have made it out of the last round, but they did. Still no Georgi Petrovic, no word on whether or not he's going to be playing tonight either. Revs are at a minus 179. Your 90-minute draws a plus 328. Charlotte and Houston, 9:30. So 7:38 and 9:30 tonight. Charlotte's a plus 326. Houston a minus 130, and it's changing as we go, getting closer and closer to break-even numbers. And your 90-minute draw is a plus 274 when it comes to that last matchup tonight. Looking at Women's World Cup juice boxes, Colombia's a plus 108. Your draw's a plus 206. Jamaica's a plus 295. 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, France, big favorite against Morocco. Morocco's basically a plus 1,500 to win. Your draw's a plus 687. Ricky warning us to stay the hell away from the airport today. Stay the hell away from the airport. How was Providence, by the way? Did you get the Italian food on Federal Hill? Airport's insane. Yeah, I know, D. Graham, you can't win all the trophies without the first one. I know. It'd be interesting to see how the personnel changes at Manchester City will integrate. Vardiol in, Mahrez out. You saw Cole Palmer and Phil Foden in Community Shield. Palmer's goal was ridiculous. So you had that, but no, that was really wild stuff. Abby, about the USWNT making subs so late players don't get a chance to warm up, get into the game. Subs were made for PKs. He already gave up, thinking we weren't going to score. Let's see. What other stuff before we get into the last words of the day? Let's see. Okay, I think we got caught up on everybody in. If Miami gets CCL from Leagues Cup, Tofka says, do they punt on Open Cup? I don't think they punt on Open Cup, Tofka. I think they continue to add trophies. Hey, we got a double. I think the odds on them. The odds on them getting a double through Leagues Cup and Open Cup, they'll take it. Jorge _Moss. Hey, we've got 2 trophies. He'll take that. He'll put a Leagues Cup banner up at the Invisible Stadium. He'll put an Open Cup banner up there. Yeah, trophy's a trophy. But those are the 2 that will be finished a lot sooner than the end of the regular season. Because remember, the Open Cup final would be September 27th. You've still got another couple of weeks before the end of the regular season for Major League Soccer. So I think, Tofka, if they get Leagues Cup and they get Open Cup, I don't think they punt. I don't think they punt on Open Cup. Coco, 0% chance Tata looks at Open Cup or Leagues Cup as their best chance to get into CCL, punts leagues games around U.S. Open Cup. I just think Garber tells Tata to go for the league because Messi's in the playoffs as marketing gold. No question. But, right now, looking at where you are, you're closer to winning Leagues Cup and you're closer to winning Open Cup than you are closer to winning anything in the postseason for Major League Soccer. I admit I'm looking at it from an immediacy perspective, but I think that if you end up doing those kinds of things. I think that if you win Leagues Cup and you win Open Cup, then I think the rest is gravy. I really do. I think that you end up doing those kinds of things. A couple of other things before we go. Rafael Varane has said he's hit out at new referee directives on added time for stoppages and fears extended 100-minute matches will harm the physical and mental well-being of players. Officials will add exact time lost to celebrations, substitutions, injuries, penalties, and reds, which was brought in during the World Cup last season when matches regularly went past the 100-minute mark. Arsenal equalized in the 101st minute. Pep Guardiola joked matches will end up being played until the following day. Varane on social media. We had a meeting last week with the FA. They recommended from the referees new decisions and rules. From the managers and players, we've shared our concerns for many years now that there are too many games. Schedule's overcrowded and it's at a dangerous level for players' physical and mental well-being. Despite our previous feedback, they've now recommended for next season longer games, more intensity, less emotions to be shown by the players. They just want to be in good condition on the pitch to give 100% to our clubs and fans. Why are our opinions not being heard? As a player, I feel very privileged to do the job I love every day, but I feel these changes are damaging our game. We want to be at our maximum level, the best we can be, and put on an amazing performance for fans to celebrate every week. Guardiola said it was annoying, but we have to get used to it. I had the feeling, not because we were winning 1-0, but that not much happened to extend it for 8 minutes. It's a good question for the international board and people because they don't consult with managers and players. We have to accept it with this amount of games. Now the games will be 100 minutes. Nothing happened today. There was 8. They extend for goals if the score is 4-3. You put 45 seconds for 7 goals. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I am here playing. So, hey, you've got to be ready for it. If the officials have been told that you've got to go ahead and dial things back up to where you celebrate, you sub, you got to add the time back on. And if the time ends up being 10 and you had a lot of subs and you had a lot of goals, you had a lot of subs, you had a lot of goals, you just got to be ready for it. Sorry. David Moyes' West Ham's future, according to Matt Law, is in doubt despite the transfer breakthrough. String of bad results, tough run of early season fixtures could bring Moyes' position into sharp focus. Well, yeah. $35 million signing of Alvarez. David Sullivan insists Moyes will be given a chance. Sullivan is not thought to have any plans to sack Moyes, but fears remain. They start the season badly. Chelsea, Brighton, Luton Town, Bournemouth. West Ham missed out on Barnes. Missed out on Ward-Prowse so far. Struggles in the transfer market. So they're already setting up the idea that David Moyes could be first to go. Got it. You got hardware. You barely finished out of the relegation zone, but if you've got a rough start and we've invested in you, then you're out. And this is about damn time. Telegraph and the Press Association. It's, Abby, maybe stop the clock. Just stop the clock. But you're still kind of there, If you stop the clock, you're still lingering. So you want to stand around with a stopped clock, or do you just want to let the clock go and it is what it is? I think either way you end up with the same number of minutes. Football fans could be banned from games, including next year's European Championships, if they mock tragedies such as the Hillsborough disaster, the Munich air crash, Valley Parade, the Bradford fire, or the death of Emiliano Sala in a plane crash. Updated Crown Prosecution Service guidance is seeking to tackle tragedy-related abuse, which is when fans sing, chant, or gesture offensive messages about disasters or accidents involving players or fans. The guidance, which helps prosecutors as they make legal decisions on cases, restates that tragedy-related abuse can be seen as a public order offense. The move has been backed by the chief execs of the FA, the Premier League, and the EFL. Guidance also sets out how lawyers can apply for football banning orders. These can stop fans from attending matches and impose other restrictions, such as on travel to certain areas and during tournaments or being allowed in pubs. Douglas Mackay of the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Services. So it sounds like a district attorney. A small minority, isn't that a minority anyway? So it'd be like a small number. But he says a small minority of so-called fans are both damaging the reputation of the sport, and more importantly, this offending has a devastating impact on the families of victims, tragedies, and communities connected closely to these events. We want supporters to passionately enjoy our national sport without crossing the line into criminality. Chief Constable Mark Roberts of the National Police Chiefs Council said the organization's working closely with the CPS welcomed the effort to tackle the mindless and vicious chanting that unfortunately a minority of supporters engage in. Quote, 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 from chief executives in various leagues. Recent months have seen several successful prosecutions. Inquest jury ruled in 2016. Victims of Hillsborough were unlawfully killed among a number of police errors. In June, Manchester United fan chuckled in the dock of the court after receiving a 4-year football ban, having admitted to wearing a football shirt at Wembley, which made an offensive reference to the Hillsborough disaster. Pleaded guilty to displaying threatening or abusive writing likely to cause harassment, alarm, or distress. Tottenham fan also banned from attending football matches for 3 years after being found guilty of mocking Hillsborough. Made a gesture toward Liverpool fans at the game in Anfield April 30. He admitted he made the gesture to suggest that fans without tickets had pushed forward in the tragedy and been partly to blame for the crush that led to so many deaths, according to the CPS. As I always say, biggest thing for me, how are you going to enforce it? How do you enforce this? 4-year ban, cool. 3-year ban, cool. Should be lifetime ban first and foremost. Should be charged criminally to the fullest extent of the law. Throw the book at him, I don't care. How are you going to enforce it? You going to put the guy's face up like they do in the post office, like a wanted poster? Not allowed here. Not allowed here. You wag your finger at him. Then he wears like a fake mustache or something and gets in and gets to do his thing. How do you enforce this? How? Guarantee you he gets that these folks who've been charged get into at least one match this year some way. And they'll take pictures and they'll post them to social media and sit there and go, click, hey, look where I am, field behind them. They get to make a mockery of the whole thing all over again. And like I said, how do you enforce this kind of stuff? I'd love to know. I'd love to know how you're going to do it. That's just me. So that's how we're staring at stuff. And it's going to be another day back at it again tomorrow. We'll have a couple of other things to talk about in the World Cup. Once again, remember, all week long, we're going to be having stuff. We got stuff. We're going to have all of the league programming. We're going to have that back up and running. Once again, we had titles decided League 2 in the NPSL. We'll have our USL Championship programming, our USL League 1 programming up and running. MLS Next Pro will be up and running. We will have, once again, standard guests. Hopefully we'll have Dylan Butler with us on Wednesday. Lloyd Hours, the technical director of the Marshall Islands. He'll be with us, hopefully, from the Honolulu Airport, 10:30 Wednesday morning. Very, very cool to do that kind of stuff. And then, obviously, Thursdays with Nico at 10:30. And everything else in between. Hoping to get Bart Keeler before he comes back to Atlanta. Hoping maybe to get Luke Winstall to discuss things. Probably should have had Luke on this morning to discuss Australia. We'll try to see if we can get Luke on tomorrow and see to talk about stuff. And since we don't have to have him on at 9 o'clock in the morning, we can have Luke whenever he arrives, and he can look at things too. So we'll be catching up with our merry band of folks. And thanks again to all of you guys for hanging out with us for another week. Oh, and also remember, Wednesday night, Atlanta United 2, Crown Legacy, 7:30, pregame 7:15 here on the network, and however you listen to things on soccerdownhere.net and the SDH app. So a very, very busy week across the board. Whatever's on your mind all week long, as always, we'll talk about it here on the Twitch Pitch. And thanks to all of you guys who have jumped in this morning to be a part of what's going on the Twitch Pitch as we talk Open Cup, Leagues Cup, requested, required, reading and viewing, all those kinds of things as we get ready for another week to talk about soccer. So for everybody here at SDH, for Jason, for Jarrett, and for Nick, I'm just John. Thanks for hanging out with us. Mucha platiel, play it safe. It's the end of the show. That means I get to do this. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, 9:05.